Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Mathis with the Mathis Group. We are a premier ATP with the Project Management Institute. Today, we're going to be looking at 7 minutes to PMP mastery. Our topic is going to be project documents versus project management plan. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between the project management plan and project documents. This is becoming a bigger deal on the test. And so a lot of times people will take the test and they assume everything they see is going to be part of the project management plan. That's not true. So let's start off defining what the project management plan is. The project management plan explains how the project will be managed, executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. It is the main integrated plan for the project. It includes subsidiary management plans such as scope management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, resource management plan, communication management plan, risk management plan, procurement management plan, stakeholder engagement plan, and then the baselines, which is scope, schedule, and cost. So you want to make sure that all of this is what you're thinking of when you think about the project management plan. A subsidiary management plan is under the umbrella of the project management plan. So if I have the project management plan, I have the subsidiary plans. And so a subsidiary plan would just be one of those that has been pulled out, such as the schedule management plan or the scope management plan. So defining the project documents. Project documents are supporting records used to manage project details. They help the project manager and the team track information, decisions, assumptions, risk, issues, lessons learned, stakeholders, requirements, changes, and performance data. Examples would include the risk register, the issue log, the stakeholder register, assumptions log, requirements documentation, lessons learned register, change log, project schedule, resource calendar, and activity attributes. These are some of the project documents. And so on the test, they will actually ask you between the two. Is this a project document or a part of the project management plan? So project management plan versus the project document. You need to understand the difference. So the project management plan tells how the project will be managed. It's going to guide execution, monitoring, and control. It's going to define the management approach. It's going to include the baselines and the subsidiary plans. The project documents contain the detailed information used to manage the project. So it's going to track project details and status, record risk, issues, assumptions, requirements. It's going to support day-to-day project management. So a strong PMP candidate must know that both are important, but they serve totally different purposes. Where the project management plan is taking care of the how the project's going to be managed, the project documents are going to be containing the information that you're using in a lot of this. So plans often tell how, documents often tell what, who, when, and status. So a useful PMP exam shortcut would be the project management plan usually tells how the project will be managed. The project documents usually show what exists, what changed, who is involved, what is pending, what is known, and what needs attention. An example of this would be the risk management plan explains how risk will be identified, analyzed, responded to, and monitored. The risk register lists the specific risk, the owners, the probability, the impact, the responses, and current status. So it's important for you to be able to distinguish these differences. Predictive environment. So how do we use project management plan and project documents here? So in a predictive project, the project management plan is usually more detailed, more formal. The team establishes baselines and controls changes through an integrated change control process. In predictive environments, the PMP exam questions may ask whether the project manager should update the risk register, the issue log, the assumption log, the stakeholder register, or submit a change request to update the project management plan. A predictive exam scenario may say a customer requests additional scope after the scope baseline has been approved, and so the best PMP answer is usually not to immediately do the work, but the project manager should evaluate the request, follow the change control process described in the project management plan. So remember, predictive is going to be command and control. This is the most formal of the three methods. The second is going to be that of an agile environment. So agile project management is not as formal as predictive, but planning still exists, but agile teams use adaptive planning. Product backlogs, sprint backlogs, release plans, definitions of done, team working agreements, information radiators, and agile artifacts. In agile environments, the exam may focus less on formal document updates and more on transparency, collaboration, backlog refinement, stakeholder engagement, servant leadership. All of those are some of the components that's more loose and open-ended for agile. For an example, if a stakeholder requests a new feature, the product owner should evaluate and prioritize it into the product backlog. The team should not automatically add it to the current sprint. That's a no-no. And also, agile project documents may be lightweight, visual, and also continuously updated because once again, you don't have a strong change control process in an agile environment. In a hybrid environment, hybrid projects, part of the work may be predictive and part of it may be agile. So as you read it, you'll have to pick up on what part, how much of it. Is it more predictive with some agile, or is it more agile with some predictive? So this means some components may require formal plans and baselines, while other components use adaptive artifacts, such as backlogs and iterative planning. For an example, a construction project may use predictive planning for permitting, contracts, and compliance, while using agile methods for developing a digital customer portal. In hybrid exam questions, the candidate must avoid extreme answers. PMI usually expects tailoring to take place in a hybrid type project. So you're using just enough of the methodology, just enough of the processes. So the project manager should use the right artifact and governance approach for the specific part of the project. So here are some common mistakes that we will see in this. And so project management plan versus project documents. Not every record is part of the plan. And so many artifacts are project documents, not subsidiary plans, such as a risk register, issue log, assumptions log, stakeholder register. Second thing, risk management plan versus risk register. The risk management plan, how will risk be managed? The risk register are going to be tracking actual identified risk. The third is going to be stakeholder plan versus stakeholder register. The plan is part of the project management plan. The stakeholder register identifies stakeholders, captures information. That's going to be part of your project documents. Number four, not every update needs a change request. Many project documents can be updated during normal project management work, such as an issue log, lessons learned register, but changes to baselines or formal plan components often require a change request. Number five, Agile does not mean no documentation. I think that's a myth that people have accepted. So Agile values useful, sufficient, value-driven documentation. Examples would be product backlogs, sprint backlogs, release plans, definitions of done, working agreements, information radiators. So you do have some documentation. And then number six, updating the wrong artifact. PMI often gives answer choices that sound professional but point to the wrong artifact. So new assumption is discovered, and so you update the assumptions in the risk register. Well, that would be wrong. You'd update the assumptions log. Cost baseline must change, so you update the cost breakdown. Well, that's wrong. What would be better is you submit a change request and follow integrated change control. So your PMP exam rule is use the right artifact. Project documents track details. The project management plan and baselines guide how the project is managed and controlled. So let's give you your PMP question for this. So a project manager is leading a hybrid project to develop a new customer service platform. The hardware installation work is being managed predictively because it involves vendor contracts and regulatory inspections. The software configuration work is being managed using agile practices. During a project review, a compliance stakeholder states a new regulatory reporting requirement must be included before the platform can go live. The agile team says the requirement can be added to the product backlog, but the vendor warns that the requirement may also affect the approved installation schedule and inspection sequence. What should the project manager do first? A, ask the product owner to add the requirement to the product backlog and allow the Agile team to reprioritize it during the next backlog refinement session. B, review the project management plan and relevant project data, documents to determine the change control approach, affect baselines, requirements, information, and stakeholder impact. C, submit a change request immediately because the requirement may affect the approved schedule baseline. Or D, update the requirements documentation and instruct the vendor to revise the installation schedule before the next inspection. So take a look at these and see what would you go with. So let's see what the real answer is. Your correct answer is B. Should first review the project management plan and relevant project documents to understand how the change should be handled and what project information may be affected. This is a hybrid project. Software may use agile backlog management, but hardware installation work is predictive and may involve vendor contracts, regulatory inspections, and approved baselines. And so the new requirement may affect requirements, documentation, product backlog, the schedule baseline, stakeholder engagement, regulatory compliance, and possibly vendor or procurement or vendor coordination. Now let's look at the other answers. So A, ask the product owner to add the requirement to the product backlog and allow the Agile team to reprioritize it during the next backlog refinement session. This answer is partially reasonable for the Agile software portion, but it's incomplete. The scenario says the requirement may also affect the approved installation schedule and inspection sequence. This means predictive controls and baselines may be involved. So PMI usually avoids answers that solve only one part of a hybrid problem. So you want to look at something that's going to solve both sides of it. C, submit a change request immediately. That automatically bells and whistles should go off because, and they start talking about submitting a change request immediately because of what somebody has said, that's probably not going to be your best answer. And then D, update the requirements documentation and instruct the vendor to revise the installation schedule before the next inspection. This answer is too direct and it bypasses all the governance that it is talked about. Updating requirements documentation may be needed, but instructing the vendor to revise the schedule before impact analysis and change control is not appropriate. If an approved baseline or contract is affected, the project manager has to follow change control processes. So that kind of gives you some substance on behind the scenes why these other answers were not as good. Now, as we come to the close of this video, let me thank you so much for watching this. We've been training PMPs since 2006. I do a virtual PMP exam prep every other month. Love to have you into a group. We have a great guarantee that nobody in the world will touch. And so if I can help you in any way, call me, send me an email, or sign up for one of our boot camps. I'd love to have you. So you take care. Have a great week. Okay? Bye now.